us on a Thursday afternoon as we begin our broadcast day. Nice to have you aboard here on a great Sirius XM 82. Yours truly, Christopher Russo, as we chat to you about what's going on as far as the world of sports is concerned. The crew's in the house today. Steve's still at home, though, doing programs, but we're here. Billy Z, Steve, Tori back in Mount Kisco, of course, Eddie Erickson, Colin Schmeling, yours truly, on a broadcast day and a busy day as we chat to you about what's cooking as far as the world of sports is concerned. A little hockey later, Game 7 tonight. Capitals Tampa tomorrow. PJ tomorrow on the conference finals. We'll have some fun with that. And we're sprinkling some other things on this Thursday afternoon edition. I served better. We did lose 6-4 in the third. I'll give you some updates on that as we move it along. All right, let's start with Boston, right? Let's make Boston. Boston. You got it. Beantown. Continental Conway. That was in Philly. The Revolution. Boston Tea Party. John Adams. Let's start Boston on the first part of the program here on this busy afternoon. Let's do the bad first, break the good second. The bad is the Red Sox, who, let's be honest, the Red Sox right now got some major issues. Here, first off, here's a team that went 17-2 to start the year. 17-2. And that was as of, I can give you the exact date, 19 days, about April 21st, about 2.5 weeks ago, all right? 2.5 weeks ago when they went to Oakland. I don't have the calendar in front of me. I'll get it. When they went to Oakland, the Red Sox, and they played that series against the A's, the Red Sox were 17-2 after that series, of course, when they beat the Angels. They went to Oakland. They got to Oakland on April 21st. So on April 21st, they were 17-2. They had about an 8-game lead in the division as far as the American League East is concerned. That was on April 21st. On May 10th, they're out of first place. That's all you need to know. Here's a team that had the greatest start in the history of the franchise. I think that's accurate. The greatest start with the history of the franchise. You would think that would last a little longer in first place than 2.5 weeks. And right now, they're in second place. And that is the story, and that is where we begin on this Thursday program, because the Red Sox got major issues. Let's start with the specifics last night on the ball game. First off, that was a typical game with the Yankees. Back and forth, good offenses, score runs. The Yankees, in a lot of ways, like Golden State. You got to outscore the Yankees. I mean, they have so much firepower offensively that to shut them down. Now, that Houston did that last week, but to shut them down over a period of time is very, very difficult to do. So you got to score some runs. The Red Sox scored only 2 runs in the first game, lost. Yesterday they had 6, which you'd figure, but they still lost because the Yankees don't have an out-and-out lineup. So as a result of that, and they got so much power, you have to go out there and you got to score a ton of runs. And the Red Sox, with Ramirez's home run in the 7th inning, scored 6 runs. But the Red Sox have a couple things they don't like about their offense. Number one, they cannot play Jackie Bradley. I mean, they didn't play him yesterday. They went with the lineup that I like, with Moreland at first base, J.D. Martinez in right, and Betts switches to center, and Ramirez can be the DH. That's their best team. But they still do not have a good hitting catcher, and Moreland is not exactly, he's not Jimmy Fox. So from that perspective, you still have an issue offensively against the Yankees because you can't score enough runs. So that's problem number one. And yesterday they scored 6 and can't get the job done. Problem number 2 is their bullpen, because against the Yankees, this bullpen in a tight game late, unless Sale's pitching, they are not going to beat the Yankees. They can't hold them down. They do not have an 8th inning pitcher. Joe Kelly, the Heath Imbra, whatever his name is, the guy who pitched the other night, who balked in him $9 million, he did a terrible job. What's his last name? They have Eddie look it up. I don't like him, and I've never liked Matt Barnes, who throws thousands of pitches, who threw curveballs last night. And got Heath Embry. I don't like him. And then Barnes last night gives up a double in the 8th inning, leading off with a 6-5 lead. You cannot do that against Neil Walker. You got to get Neil Walker out if you're Matt Barnes. If Matt Barnes is not as good as Neil Walker, you got no chance beating the Yankees. And lo and behold, what happens? Guy gets to third base. Then he brings in his closer for a 5-out save. Now, Kimbrel, by the way, is a little overrated. Kimbrel vomited it all over himself at the end of the season in 2011 2011 when the Cardinals came from 10 games behind to win the wild card, ended up winning the whole thing. And the Cardinals, I think that was maybe in 2011 when the Cardinals beat the Phillies in the 5-game series and turned around and beat Texas before it was all said and done. Remember, the Phillies had to beat the Braves late in the year to get the Cardinals into the playoffs, and Kimbrel, if you remember correctly, could not close that third game of the series the weekend that closed the year. Wasn't a weekend, which closed the year, which would have gotten the Braves into the postseason. He didn't do a great job in San Diego. He gave up 1 million home runs last year. One of them, the Holiday, if you remember correctly, on that Saturday afternoon game in July, which ruined the sales start. And then he got bombed by the Astros in Game 4. So I don't love him. And then he brings him in yesterday. Cora does, which is problem number 3 when you think about offense and then you think about bullpen and think about that manager. He brings him in yesterday in a situation that has got no chance of surviving. Why would you bring in a closer 5-out save in a 1-run game when a tying run is at third base with less than 2 out? Why would you do that? Because all Gardner has to do, and Brett Gardner was up, is basically bunt the ball and the game is tied, and then effectively you don't have a closer the rest of the day. Now, why would you do that? What, you need a strikeout? Gardner is a guy who's going to make contact. He's a good pressure player. He gives you a good at bat. He's going to battle. He's going to get his bat on the ball. That's Brett Gardner. That's why he's made a million. That's why he's made $50 million. He's that kind of player. And as a result, he fouls pitchers off. He works the count. Next thing you know, he hits the ball over the center fielder's head, and the Yankees take a lead. Why would you bring him in that situation? If you want to bring him in that spot, if you're Cora, bring him in with the man on second base and nobody out. At least a fly ball doesn't blow the save. And then, of course, after Gardner hits the ball to the wall, Judge hits the ball over the wall. And the Red Sox end up losing the game. So I don't like their bullpen. I don't love Kimbrel. I think he's a little overrated. And I don't like their 8th inning pitchers. And I wonder about Cora in a big spot. And then managing in that kind of game. Now, Boone, you could say the same thing about, but the Yankees might be so good it doesn't mean anything. And then finally, I'm worried about Price. Who did not pitch yesterday, who it's twice now against the Yankees with a little, carpal syndrome, whatever it's called, because he's playing video games left and right. Now, he's a Vanderbilt kid. Read a book on Thomas Jefferson, will you please? My gosh, get off the videos. And that's exactly what, in fact, our little buddy Fortnite he's playing. That's what Cora said after the game. We got talked about playing so much video. Here it is, you're paying David Price $210 million, and I don't want to got to be careful about injuries. I've been burned by that a million times where you say a guy's not hurt and then it turns out with Tommy John 2 days later. We all know James Rodney Richard, but it seems like this is not a big deal, and yet he's left both Yankee games because of this injury, because of this. 1 inning in the first time they played and even pitched yesterday. So the Red Sox are a complete mess, and again, simple, 17-2, May 10th, out of first place, with holes all over the place compared to the Yankees. That's the bad of Boston. The good of Boston is next here on Mad Dog Unleashed.